Thank you, and I'm thrilled to be here today. I am Lisa Hammitt, and I'm a vice president in IBM's cloud division. And I've got asked a few times today, what would a vice president of a product division be doing here today? And I can tell you from my part, I'm here because of two words that I saw back in 2010. Mission accomplished. So read the post of a Facebook page of a 16-year-old girl hours after she was found after hanging herself in her family stairwell. So this was a girl that was immediately set upon by a clique of girls at school, and the bullying was 24/7. It was happening physically, it was happening virtually. She could not get away from it. And so at the time, I was a mother of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I had already devised a plan on how to keep them from the unsavory aspects of the internet, but this one really hit home. This one made me realize that we were up against an enemy much more powerful than I could have envisaged. And so the technologist in me said, I gotta fight back. So what I began thinking was, how do we apply artificial intelligence, which is what I did my graduate work in, to solve this problem? Could we get enough data? You bet we could get enough data. Could we find a way to get the latest algorithms that are coming out of cancer research, pull them out of the labs, and apply them to this problem? You bet. We certainly could. But where we really decided that the advancements could be made would be in the ubiquity. Could we actually look at all the different social media sites that were out there, and could we look at behavior that was going in the wrong direction, and could we flag and sequester it? And that's why I'm here today, because that is exactly what I funded at IBM. So social good is kind of interesting because, yes, we have a whole division at IBM who works with corporate philanthropy, and they're doing amazing things. Very proud of what my colleagues are doing, but also we technologists are trying to weave it into our DNA to provide platforms for you to make it commonplace, and so that a partner of mine who's working for the for-benefit enterprise, that for-benefit just becomes something we do. It's not even something we think about. And so let me talk a little bit about how this technology works, because everybody would say, sure, it's something I want to accomplish, it sounds great, but let me talk with you about some of the challenges in doing that and how we've overcome those challenges. So, like Phoebe Prince, the very pretty freshman from Ireland who committed suicide back in 2010, we have a very similar circumstance here in our use case. We have a love triangle, right? Something that you see quite frequently in teens. And by the way, the statistics are sobering. 80% of teens report some form of cyberbullying. So it's pervasive, it's everywhere. And so we've changed the actors' names, but they're all part of this particular use case. Now, out there in social media, we have communities, and communities are made up of unstructured data. You have people posting all the time, you have people making statements. One of the things about communities that are characteristic is that you have natural language going on where it isn't as easy to detect whether someone's sense of humor is just their sense of humor and it involves sarcasm, or whether it's actually a threat. I'm proud to say that now, if we troll in dialogue, which we can right now, and we're able to parse that language and make sense of that language in real time, we are able to see that some two people who are talking about another third party, like we see in this case, where Jen has entered into the community and she's telling this group of gentlemen who are interested in the looks of Clara what Clara's real name is. We will know immediately whether Clara and the recipient of that information are really friends, or whether there's no connection between them. Because in addition to being able to make sense of the text, We also know their connections through social and knowledge graphing. And so we're able to detect that, and we're able to detect when a flag occurs, where some of that language may be going, and dangerously so if it's destined to leave the community. And so the way we know this in this particular use case is a phone number is being given out. And so a phone number yields other types of technologies like texting, which means it leaves the community. Now, our first line of defense when we look at cyberbullying is what we can do for the community managers, because so many of them want the tools. They want to be able to have a heat map where they're seeing conversations not progress in a way, or they're not able to enforce a code of conduct. One of the partnerships I'm very proud to have is with the Anti-Defamation League. I sit on one of their task forces, and I can see that hate language can spur in much the same way. And so what we can do is we can tell whether or not it's going to go into another source where it will be harder for a community manager to actually take action. So it's important for us to act swiftly and give that community manager the tools they need to be able to take some corrective action. So that's another part of what's available today. If it gets out into text, that's not a situation that we want to have happen, but still, with messaging technology and dialogue technology, we still do have a way of notifying or alerting the victim directly if there is no community manager present, because some of these cases are disintermediated, and we see that in a lot of different domains that have come to me personally and have asked, let's do research in this area, like gaming communities. And so we make sure that we're providing the level of tools and support we can to make the entire dialogue safer. And so just so you can see, at the end of the day, for a community manager, what they would be able to get by pulling all this data. It's the data from the community, it's the data from the phone, it's the data from the social and knowledge graphing, it's the homology matching, it's all of the things that we're bringing together in order to assess whether or not this is a real threat. We can provide the community manager an ability to take that action and to find out where the hot spots are in their communities. And I know I've talked about teens, but in a prior life, while I was at Salesforce, I was actually also the executive sponsor of the World Economic Forum. And they have a very active community where people are discussing policy. It is not unusual for bullying to go on there too. If someone takes a controversial stance on a policy. And so those community managers work 24/7 to take manual means to try to diminish that level of disruption in their communities. And so it's something we've seen. We work with community managers. We have consultants like David Spinks, who run a 7,000 member strong community manager network. And they tell us the types of tools, the type of business rules that are going to be able to help that community manager to do their job much more effectively. Okay, so IBM brings the technology, and we're able to apply artificial intelligence in ways that we didn't before for social good. But it's not something that we do alone. It's something that you need an ecosystem in order to accomplish. There are many actors that play a part in solving this problem. We work with local schools. We work with people on the policy side to understand how we can use these type of technologies in order to better the environment and the health and the wellness of our teens. We also work with local organizations that support more vulnerable populations, like women, who are 60% more likely to experience online bullying than their male counterparts. And so by doing that, we understand the logic that we need to put in place in order to have a breadth of capabilities available to help the practices and to advance the technology. Also, in addition to the Anti-Defamation League, as well as the CMX Hub, which contain the community managers, I also work with other organizations who, as I said, make for benefit central to the corporate charter. And Harat Sabati is here with me. He is the author of The Fourth Sector. I encourage all of you to read it if you haven't already. It's in the Harvard Business Review, and it was a seminal article written in 2011. Harat has been tireless in working with the corporations to make sure that it's woven into our DNA. And so with that, I say our community is set out to tackle this problem, and tackle it we will. Thank you.